Well, we're excited to draft Trenton Simpson from Clemson. We felt like, clearly for us at that time, he was the best available player. Run and hit linebacker, very, very explosive, outstanding. I mean, Chris Horton, one of the happiest guys in the building, one of his favorite players. Zach Orr, that was his #1 linebacker in the draft this year. And so, we got wiped out, to be honest, in the third. It was a long day, as I feared it would, and I just kept thinking about, Roquan. In fact, at one point, we actually FaceTimed with Roquan, believe it or not, and that is true. We did. So that was cool.
That was just to remind the whole room when we did have a second-round pick.
Yeah.
Here's your second-round pick.
But we were very excited to get Trenton. I think he's going to help us in a lot of different ways. We see him as a 4-down linebacker eventually. Tremendous potential and upside, and he's a great kid. Questions?
So, John, how do you, because it seems like he's played a lot of snaps inside linebacker, even some at corner. Where do you project him?
Well, that's the point, I think he's versatile. He's a run and hit linebacker. Joe talked about that just a few minutes ago. He can play really across the board. He can play from the slot all the way back across to the will, and he can play on the edge of the line. So that's kind of nice. He's fast. He's a kind of straight line, cover ground kind of guy. He can actually rush. I think when we blitz, he'll help us. And then special teams. He's going to definitely be a part of that. He already started talking about that on the phone. He's going to be on all the special team stuff. So it's always great to add speed and kind of that, he's a missile. To add that kind of mindset to our defense and our special teams is a big plus.
What do you mean by you were wiped out? Were the guys with third-round grades on, other than Simpson, were pretty much all gone? Is that kind of?
Well, I mean, you have players in every round that you aspire to take. You look up there and be, man, that would be a great pick. That would be a great pick. And at one point, early part of the third round, we probably had 7 or 8 names, and by the end, we had 1. That's so you have to you pick the best player. That's what we do. It's interesting, just as an aside, thinking about looking at the receiver position. Starting that round, there were a lot of really good receivers available. And, at one point, this process fall, I'm thinking maybe we would have a chance to draft a wideout in the third round. And it just got annihilated in the span of about 10 picks. And so we're very thankful that we got Zay.
Eric, does drafting Simpson, does that have any impact on Patrick Bean's future at all?
Yeah, so that's something, as I said yesterday, we'll address at some point. We love Patrick. I love Patrick. Patrick is, in my mind, one of the better will linebackers in the league. He's smart. He works his butt off. He's got a bright future. I think he's a Pro Bowl linebacker in the making. And so, in Trenton, we get a guy that was honestly, the very best player available at the time. That's our philosophy. That's how we build our team. The fact that he's an outstanding special teams player factored in, because that's, that transcends positional defensive football. That guy's going to be on the field for us, helping us win games, and that's a huge thing for us. We love his mentality. We love his background, his family, and it was an easy pick for us to make.
Eric, just to be clear, with the timetable for Patrick, is it by the end of the draft or just by that Tuesday deadline that you guys expect to make an announcement or decide on?
Well, I think the deadline is what, the 1st? 4 p.m.? It's probably when we'll make it, I would say, by then.
Joe, what kind of stood out when you were watching film and throughout the whole scouting process, jumped out about Simpson?
Yeah, it's been mentioned twice, the versatility. He came in as really an outside backer, nickel type player for them. You mentioned it, Jamison, where he was playing some corner even. So the athleticism, the speed. When you put the film on, you watch him go from sideline to sideline. He can close ground very quickly in pursuit. He's very active on film. And then, like Eric mentioned, his character is off the charts. There at Clemson, they rave about him. We get a lot of information from them about their players, and he comes from a great program and a great place, and so it just put everything together. It just feels like a good pick.
Eric and Joe, we've talked to you guys a lot about the cornerback. Is that a position where there's still going to be good value when you guys are picking in the 4th and 5th rounds tomorrow?
I think so. We look at the board now. Of course, you've got to be, there's always an element of luck involved and teams taking other players. But as we look up there in this coming round, you know, we see some guys that we would consider taking in the fourth round for sure, definitely. And I'll tell you, that's an important position. There's no team in the league, well, probably there are other teams, but as you guys all know, you've seen us, like, we realize the value of that position, and we'll continue to address that via the draft, via other means. You know, there's a lot of opportunities out there for us to get better at that position, and the draft is certainly part of that, and I think we have a board where we see players that we would take in the fourth, fifth, and sixth round, definitely.
Eric, were you at all tempted to trade up? Did you attempt it at any point, and it was just too rich, or you just knew with the draft capital you had that was probably going to be unlikely?
Yeah, I mean, you know, in another year, Jeff, we probably might have traded. You know, had we had 12 picks, I could see maybe us trying to trade up potentially. This year, hamstrung by the picks that we have, it was probably prohibitive. You know, our trade was, as I said, Roquan. That was our trade up this year, basically. We gave up a 2 and a 5 for an all-pro linebacker. That was our trade. And you know, we kind of went into the process knowing that. We did consider trading back in the round. We fielded a couple of calls. The value wasn't there for us to do that, and so we decided to pick.
In that round 2 video you guys put up on the social media, you said that you guys plan to have 5 players in the next 24 hours. At that point, you only have 4 picks. Was that just a flubbing of the words, or do you expect to add another player?
The video, did you see the video?
No. No. You never know. That's what I'll say. You never know. You never know.
John, there's a lot of talk about Simpson as a versatile linebacker. Do you envision him competing more or playing primarily inside or outside, or is that to me?
Yeah, I think he'll be an inside backer. They probably could go out to the edge. We do move those guys out there quite a bit. You know, we'll kick our in our even front package, nickel package. We'll kick our weak side end down to a 3 technique and bring the will linebacker up on the line of scrimmage. To do that a lot with Malik. So those guys are versatile doing that. Patrick does that a lot. So he'll be involved in all those type of things.
In that same vein, just how valuable is this, kind of the positionless defense and being able to match up against tight ends with linebackers like that? Like, just how much versatility does that give you and Mike?
Yeah, I mean, Mike talks about it all the time. And really, when we draw our defenses up, a lot of times we do X's. A lot of times we do numbers. We'll talk about, we number our coverages, in terms of not just man coverage, but also zone coverage. So sometimes it's even defensive tackles dropping out into coverage, or it's guys blitzing in certain gaps. It can really be anybody that does it, and we try to build a defense in that way. We have since 2018. That's how when we reorganize the whole defense. So the idea is for guys to be all around. So you say, where do they play? Well, really, they all play everywhere most of the time. I don't really think he's going to play corner, though, Joe. It's not part of the plan, but that's how we really want all our guys to be able to play that way.
Did any of you guys call Patrick, or at this point that you guys are doing something, that would be something you do in the coming days, maybe after the draft, or you don't think it's necessary, period?
What do you mean?
Call
Call Patrick?
Patrick Queen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we talked to him. I think Zach's already talked to him. I talked to Patrick yesterday or the day before. Patrick's good. I mean, he'll be more good players we can have on our team, the more our guys should be happy. So this guy, when this guy comes in, all of our players, our linebackers are going to love him. I know Roquan's already talked to him. I'd be surprised if Patrick hasn't talked to him yet. That's on Patrick. But he's going to be great in our room. He's going to be great for our team. Patrick's going to love him. Let's roll.
How Roquan was the linebacker that he looked up to. Right? He's a Georgia guy. Was that something he talked to you guys about at all when he met with you?
Did he speak to us about looking up to Roquan?
See Roquan as a role model?
No, to me personally, no. But he's definitely a proud Georgia player. And most of those guys are. So, not surprising that he mentions that to all you guys.
Eric, I know you may not know this for sure until you're on the clock or the phone rings, but would you still like to get more picks here? Do you like what could be on the board tomorrow and feel like you need more picks to kind of take full advantage of that?
Well, we look at the board, but yeah, we can always get more picks. I mean, getting picks, I got to say, like, it's not that hard to get picks. but you got to have players to pick too, you know, and so you have to look at the board, figure out, like, you know, all the analytics guys upstairs do a great job of figuring out, you know, the range of players that we're going to be picking from. And, I mean, even, you know, today Ozzie said, well, you know, who should I look at? And we had a range of players, and, you know, honestly, Trenton fell smack dab in the middle of a 10-player range of players based off of, you know, 25 years of draft history. We're at a certain spot. But so you have to have good, you know, you have to see the players that you might look at that you like. For us, we're trying to get players typically that are in our top 125 on our board. And so if we trade back and we don't feel like we're going to be able to get those kind of players, it's probably not worthwhile doing it. But, you know, you can always trade back. Teams are always calling, especially as you get into the third day of the draft, because other teams covet, you know, they want to move up. Teams always want to move up. You know, it's that bias, you know, that consensus bias, and they want to move up and get those players. And so they're willing to do it. But you got to have players. And as we've said, you know, we think our roster's pretty good, Jeff. It's going to be hard for guys to make the team. You know, we've had a lot of draft picks in the last 3-4 years. And so, you know, we went into this year really not thinking that we wanted 10 picks.
For Joe or Eric, do you guys see more value at outside cornerback or slot cornerback with the guys that are still out there for day 3 picks?
Yeah, I'd say there's a combination of both on the board right now first. You know, again, we mention versatility all the time, and we can project players inside that may not play outside or that may not play inside in college, but their movement skills, their toughness, their instincts. So there's some guys on the board that may not have the experience playing inside that we feel they can move inside.
Good.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Hey, you guys know that's your first class?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that.